Okay, Bible and Daily Lifers. We are going through the New Testament, and we are going through the book of Hebrews. And the book of Hebrews is written to the Hebrews, and it's about everything Hebrew. And it's really saying that all of those things that were in Judaism, that they followed for all of those centuries, are all fulfilled in Jesus. And that Jesus is better than every single one of them. And so this one that we get to now in chapter 5, we're actually going to pick up in the last couple of verses of chapter 4, is the high priest. Now, when I was teaching this at church, the book of Hebrews, I said something on a Saturday night service, actually, that some people that have come from liturgical backgrounds, they say, we don't need a priest anymore. And I said, you do need a priest. Whoever told you you don't need a priest? Because what a priest does is a priest stands with the people to God, and he's in between the people and God. He's a mediator between the people and God. And so the priest goes to God for the people. And having been with God, he comes down to the people and lets the people know what God is doing and what he's up to and what he feels about a particular thing that you're bothered by. So you do need a priest, and you need a priest to bring you to God. Now, the great thing about Jesus is that he is our priest. He is the mediator between people and God. He is the one who makes us righteous, and we don't need an earthly priest. That's correct. You need no earthly priest. You need a priest, though. You need Jesus, the high priest. So that will pick us up in chapter 4, verse 14. Therefore, and I always say whenever there's a therefore, you need to find out what it's there for. Well, I got that from my first pastor. Since we have a great high priest who has ascended into heaven, Jesus, the Son of God, let's hold firmly to the faith we profess. Wow. So some people, some priests have really got it together. They're intellectual, they're spiritual, they're moral, they got a lot of energy. But our high priest ascended into heaven, and he's there forevermore. He never gets tired. He never takes a break. He's not in the union. Always there, 24/7. So, for we do not have a high priest who's unable to empathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who's been tempted in every way just as we, yet he didn't sin. So because our high priest is God himself, God in the flesh, the incarnation, he experienced the things that we experienced, and so certainly he can sympathize and empathize with what we're going through. But he did it without sin. We do it with sin. We give in to these urges, we give in to these desires, we give in to these weaknesses. Not him. And he understands when we do it. So let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. Well, let's just go to Jesus when we need help. He is our mediator. He is our high priest. He is there for us. We got a need. Let's just go to him. No problem. Let's just go right to him. Chapter 5. Every high priest is selected from among the people and appointed to represent the people in matters related to God and to offer gifts and sacrifices. Well, that's what we just said, that he stands and represents the people in matters related to God. And he offers gifts and sacrifices. Well, he offered himself as a sacrifice for sin. He wasn't cutting up animals and burning them and giving those animals to God. He himself became the sacrifice. He is able to deal gently with those who are ignorant and going astray, since he himself was subject to weakness in the body. Wow. And so he can sympathize with us. This is why he has to, speaking at the other priest, right? He's able to deal gently with those who are ignorant because he himself has weaknesses. But this one here, the priest, the earthly priest, this is why he has to offer sacrifices for his own sins as well as the sins of the people. Well, Jesus doesn't have to offer sacrifices for sins. Why is that? Because he never sinned. He doesn't need to offer sacrifices for sins. He never sinned. And no one takes his honor as on himself, but he receives it when he was called by God, just as Aaron was. So Jesus didn't take this on himself. God made him our priest. And rather than offering sacrifices, bulls and rams and goats and doves, well, he offers himself on the cross. Nothing we can do. Add no human effort to it. He did it all for us. In the same way as these earthly priests, Christ did not take on himself the glory of becoming a high priest. Well, who appointed him? Oh, God said, "You are my son, and today I become your father." And he says in another place, "You're a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek." Now, we'll look at that in another chapter or so, Melchizedek. And during the days of Jesus' life on earth, he offered up prayers and petitions with fervent cries and tears to the one who could save him from death, and he was heard because of his reverent submission. Son, though he was, he learned obedience from what he suffered, and once he was made perfect, ascending into heaven, he became the source of eternal salvation of all who obey him, and was designated by God to be a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. Now, we'll talk about Melchizedek later. But, verse 11, we have much to say about this, but it's hard to make it clear to you because you no longer try to understand. You see, these people were sort of drifting away. In fact, though, by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone else to teach you the elementary truths of God's word all over again. You need milk, not solid food. Anyone who lives on milk, still being an infant, is not acquainted with the teaching about righteousness. But solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to distinguish good from evil. So, chapter 6 is going to be pretty amazing. This is the one where, can I lose my salvation chapter. So we'll be there. We'll look at there. But the high priest, Jesus, is the one who stands in between us and God, and he's eternal. He doesn't get tired. He's there all the time for us, and he is our high priest, reconciling us to God and making intercession for us. Good news. Jesus did it all. Add no human effort to it. Bless you guys. Love you.